and welcome back to another video, also known as my April TBR. This video I think might be a tiny bit long with all the movies I have to go through, but not so with the books. So let's get right into the video. So this month's movies are from D and P. Last month I had C and O, and I didn't get through all of them, at least not yet. I have one more, and we will see if I actually watched it or not. But from my tapes that I will be watching, I have the classic Dumbo. I'm gonna have to take this tag off for that one. I haven't watched Dumbo in like forever because it's so sad. And then the other two, I have never in my 25 years of life ever watched anything to do with Pocahontas. I don't know why, I just never have. So I have Pocahontas 1 and 2 on VHS, and I will be watching both of them at some point, and hopefully I like them. Otherwise, that will have been a waste of keeping that in my head free. Next, I have one Blu-ray, and that is Despicable Me 2. No, I don't have any other Despicable Me movies. I don't even know where I got this one from, but I have it, so I'll be watching it. And then, continuing with more of the Pirates of the Caribbean series, for D, I have Dead Man's Chest. I think this is the least watched one that I ever watched. I rarely ever watch this one. I usually watch At World's End or this one, Dead Man Tells No Tales, because those two are my favorites. The other one's not as well. And then I have this one, and I'm not about to explain the rules of how my lettering works. I just know that this one is next, is The Tale of Despero. This is such an old movie now. I remember watching this when I was in elementary school when it came out. And then I'm finally going to be able to start Divergent. Unfortunately, I will not be able to watch Allegiant because I just found out Allegiant is third in the series, which is really sad because that means I'm going to be waiting even longer to watch that one. And I was actually requested, or suggested, that maybe I should start reading the Divergent series after I'm done with all the Hunger Games books. And I thought, maybe if I ever find any. And then the last one, and this is my favorite, next to Doctor Strange, even though I don't have Doctor Strange, which I probably will end up watching anyways, is the first Deadpool movie. I've watched Deadpool so much that I don't even know. Next on the list of things to get through, if you guys are not aware, my birthday was yesterday, March 28th. That was at the time of filming. I don't know exactly when this is coming out, hopefully within the next 48 hours. But I didn't really get any books for my birthday. I got a book from Griffin, and then I got 2 Bibles from my parents, because as you can tell on my bookshelf behind me, I have a few KJV's versions, which is King James Version if you're not religious. And from them, I really wanted an NIV and an ESV. We use an ESV where I go to church, and I, for some reason, keep on saying NIV. This is not the correct one. So this is my ESV that my mom got me. And then my dad, he custom made one for me that is the NIV. It has my name down at the bottom, with apparently a note in the box from the person who made it. Who said thank you. And then the book that I got from Griffin, I actually went with him to Barnes & Noble to get this. And let me tell you that I have been waiting to read this book forever. Probably since I started wanting to read books all the way back in like October. I had this book on my TBR, and I now have it to read it. I don't know if I'll be reading it this month or when. I just know that I have it. It is this book right here. If you cannot read that, that is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. It is the only book that he ever really written. He has a lot of work that he has done, but this is considered like one of his only official books they had. And basically, it's about this dude right here and being attractive. And now on to the main event of this video, and that is all the books that I read in March/February. I had one book directly after I posted my March TBR video that I had finished for February that I didn't make mention of till now, and then I was going to put it in my free little library video, and then I realized I had not filmed it yet, and the whole book itself, I would keep it just because it's very inspirational. And this is not really a kid's book, but it could be read as a kid's book. This is The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse by Charlie Macquarie. I'm getting these British. Published October 10th, 2019. It is considered a graphic novel, but I really am just thinking it's an literature fiction graphic novel because it's not set up like a comic book. As you can tell, it was $23, but I found it in a free little library here in town. I actually got rid of the other book that came with this in my last video from the same free little library. And this was rated 4.5 stars on Goodreads, and it's 128 pages, and I rated it a 5-star on Goodreads. This is a book basically about a boy who meets a mole, a fox, and a horse, and they talk about life in a very poetic way and saying how life is worth living. And even though life can give you troubles, you gotta keep going and stuff. And it's very artistic. The pictures in here were written by, drawn by him. And this here is actual music that you can listen to. And I think there might be either a YouTube video movie or a Netflix movie thing for children on this book. I can't remember. I just remember looking it up and seeing the music for it, and it was beautiful. It's not technically a DNR book because I had read it back in January. But as you guys have probably remember from my last TBR video, I said I was going to be reading The Hunger Games for my one-on-one English student. She did not like the book whatsoever. We didn't even make it halfway through the book before calling it quits, only because, congratulations to her, she got moved into an actual English class. So I no longer have to read with her, which I'm very excited for and also very sad for at the same time. But I was very happy to not have to read that book again, on top of reading this book right here. This is the third and final Hunger Games book that has to do with this storyline. There is 2 more that are behind this that I will be reading, but they do not have to do with this timeline of the Hunger Games world. So this is The Mockingjay. This is the 3rd book by Suzanne Collins. It's published 8/24/2010. Oh, I'm drawing a blank of which month is the 8th month in the year. August, thank you. August 24th, 2010, which makes me feel weird that this came out when I was only 10 and I'm reading it. I just finished it now. It's a dystopian New York Times bestseller. Once again, it was $18, but if I look inside here, and I think I remember my mom got it before, or she got it in a free little library for me for Christmas. It's registered as a 4.1 star on Goodreads. I gave it a 4 because obviously we can't do decimals on Goodreads, which I think is really weird. And there is 390 pages in here. And I read this all in about 1 week because I was waiting for the audiobook to come in to be able to read it. And then I lost the audiobook within 1 week of being able to read this. So I was zipping past it, reading it at home, reading it on my downtime, reading it when students were doing ACT testing, all of the above. Just be able to finish this book first amongst all my books that I read in March. This final story, final add-on to the end of the Hunger Games is with Peeta and Gale and Katniss and them facing the war of the rebellion against the Hunger Games and the Capitol. And who does she end up with? Does she end up with Peeta or does she end up with Gale? And yes, District 13 is real. You have to read the book to find out. The next book that I finished, and I didn't really know if I was gonna like this book or not. I just really liked how small it was. When I say this is small, it was small looking, but on the inside, it was very long, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. This is Once Upon a Cabin. This is number 2 in the book series of Sweet Home Alaska, written by Patience Griffin, published 11, which is November 30th, 2021. And this is a contemporary romance book, and when I mean there was romance in here, there was so many mixed emotions playing around in this book. It originally cost $8 at the store, but I think my mother found this in a free little library for me. And it's 4.1 stars on Goodreads as well, and I think this one I rated as 4 stars again, and 320 pages. 320 little pages in here, and there's still a little excerpt at the end that goes into the next book of the series. I think if I were to continue the series, I would go back and read number 1. Not that the stories connect or anything, but it has to do with Alaska, and I really enjoyed reading this book. This book involves 2 sisters, Tori and McKenna St. James. They were kind of stuck up at the beginning as their uncle Monty sends them on a mission, and they're kind of getting temporarily cut off to see if they can handle living on their own without his help after their parents have died in Alaska, with the help of 2 guys. One's name is... I just finished reading this, how can I not remember their names? The one guy, his name is Jesse. He's a rugged man who lives on a homestead in a place called Sweet Homes, Alaska. And then the other guy is a bank man who lives in Anchorage, Alaska, and his name is Luke. Anyways, the 2 girls basically get swapped lives as Tori ends up going with the rugged man to Alaska, and she's all about fashion and being upbeat and having electricity and technology to help her, and she has that all taken away from her. And then the other girl, McKenna, ends up going with Luke, and she's all about wilderness and stuff, and she gets all the stuff that her other sister doesn't have. Anyways, they learn to handle life on their own without each other, and they get to meet new people, new friends and faces, and eventually they fall in love with their mentors. And at the end, I'm not going to say what, but there is a wedding involved. Next book that I finished, I actually should have finished this book first, but because it was such a short story, I pushed it off, and also because I didn't enjoy it as much. This is The Old Man in the Sea by Ernest Hemingway. If you don't know who Ernest Hemingway is, he is the greatest writers in English history. Published September 1st, 1952. It is a contemporary classic. It is rated 1.6. Oh, sorry. It was worth 1. I'm struggling. It cost $1.65 on the back of the book, yes, because that's how old this book is. And I actually found this in the Goodwill bins, and I don't remember if we even paid for it. It was rated 3.8 stars on Goodreads. I rated it 3 stars, and I will tell you why in just a moment. And there is 96 pages in this book. So this book has to do with a Cuban fisherman, like an old guy, who goes out into the sea and catches a gigantic marlin fish, and just the details were what got me. And there's a little boy involved too who like has the old man as his mentor. The only reason that I rated it so low, other than me not particularly enjoying the whole topic, was because there was just so many. It felt like such a short story, and it was very repetitive with all the words. Like, it had great detail, but I felt like it was a CD that was skipping over and over again with the same words in different order. And it was like, oh, he's here, and now he's not here, and now he's back, and then he falls asleep, and that's it. And then the last book that I have here, this book I actually had filmed a section for, but I ended up deleting. So I ended up getting this book as a blind date with a book with a bunch of junk that I have sitting up here. I don't remember if I actually have it in a video somewhere or not, but I ended up reading it. This is A Memory of Violet by Hazel Gaynor, published February 3rd, 2015. It is a historical fiction, and y'all probably know I love historical fiction books. It originally cost $15.99, but I bought it for $15 at an antique store, not knowing what it was. On Goodreads, this is rated 3.9 stars, and I rated it 4, and it is 432 pages. And this is a story about Irish flower girls that have disabilities and how they made flowers for the queen. But it's also a story about two girls from the past, two sisters, two Irish flower girls, and how they lost their mother, and then they ended up getting like separated somehow, and one of the girls ended up going to the workhouse to work as a disabled flower girl, and the other one ends up somewhere else. And then the story flips to the present, which is about a girl named Tilly who ends up going to work at the workhouse as a a mother to the house, one of the houses, and she ends up finding a box that was left by one of the girls. The older girl's name was Florrie, and Flora was her full name, but they called her Flurry. And then the other girl, her name was Rosie. And it goes on how Flurry was telling how she wished she could find Rosie again. And where did Rosie end up going, until he goes on this mystery hunt to figure out what happened to Rosie. And it flips back and forth between her life and what happened to Rosie. And what actually happened to Rosie is she ended up with a rich family and getting her name changed to Violette. For my picking for the April TBR, I wanted to do it a little small, only because I know that there was a lot of problems in March with getting audio and being able to stay focused on 4 books. And I know that's a lot for me to say, considering how many books I read in February. But with April, I'm reading a really thick book that's probably going to take up a majority of my time. And I also have another book I'm going to be reading for a student that hasn't been chosen yet for April. I probably will be finding out next week or the week after for a junior. So the thick book that I am going to be reading, that you guys have been hearing of since January, and I showed this in the last video, is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And this is the 4th Hunger Games book that has to do with basically, is this President Snow? Because it just says Snow, but I'm pretty sure it has to do with how President Snow had to be a mentor for the Hunger Games, and I'm not exactly sure the rest of it, but I remember when the movie came out because it looked really interesting, and I've been really wanting to watch all the movies. And so this book is over 500 pages, and that's what I'm saying. It's probably going to take up most of my time, and I'll be like nose deep in it. The next one that I think I'm going to pick just to keep a little bit on the smaller side, this is a kind of more of a religious book. So it will probably be right at like home and stuff. I actually had this book a long time ago in my book collection before I got rid of it. And I think I tried reading it and I didn't understand it, and I think my sister tried reading it too. I can't remember. This is The Great Divorce by C.S. Lewis. If you don't know who C.S. Lewis is, he's the one who wrote all the Chronicle of Narnia books. And this is about a bus ride from hell to heaven. And I think I should be able to understand it more as a 25-year-old versus when I was probably like 18. This is kind of, I think, might be a little bit poetic, to be honest with you. And then the last book that I'm going to pick, I'm going to try to see if I can get through it. As many of you have probably seen on my bookshelf, I mean, not that you can see it well or anything, I have a lot of Nicholas Sparks books. When my mother went looking for books for me for Christmas, I didn't really have any specific authors that I liked, and Nicholas Sparks is one of those authors that was very popular in like the early 2000s, and there was a lot of books of his, I think, probably in libraries and at Goodwill, and she's like, well, let's see. And the thing is I just did some book hunting for her to be able to read, and Nicholas Sparks was one of those authors that I picked up for her, so I also will be reading Nicholas Sparks, also known as The Best of Me. I wanted to read one of the bigger books, but once again, because of that thick book, I didn't really want to. Nicholas Sparks, he writes a lot of fiction, romantic fiction books, and I want to say they might all blend together, but I'm not sure what this book is about. I mean, I'm not about to read it to figure it out to show you guys. You can look Nicholas Sparks up. So probably a lot of you who read books have probably read him. You'll have to let me know down in the comments if you have. If you read any Nicholas Sparks book, let me know. Or if you read any of these other books, let me know. Or if you have any recommendations, you can leave them down below. So did you guys like this video? I really hope that it's not too long and that you guys didn't get bored and leave. If you did, thank you so much for staying around and watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure that you like this video and you subscribe down below if you would like to see more book content or other content. Leave a comment down below of any book recommendations, and also follow me on Goodreads. The link will be down in the description, and we can become friends and recommend each other books and follow us and all that. Anyways, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!